Good morning, good morning, good morning. Happy Monday, everyone. Welcome in, Kindness Crew. Jess is here getting us started for sure, and we'll be getting rolling. How was your weekend, Jess? I hope you had an awesome weekend. We definitely did here. It was actually a great weekend. Finished the weekend last night with a classic family activity. Mike Sullivan, welcome in, Sully. Good to see you. Classic family activity. My mic's working here. Woo! Yo! P Power Excestro. Oh, yeah, I remember you. Welcome in. Welcome back. I am glad you are here. I am great. I'm great. I'm glad you're here. Ah, yes, Inspector Gadget. Yep, I did. Yep. All right. We're rocking and rolling now. Yeah, I was just fooling around, tinkling. That was actually YouTube when you go live. It gives you it looks at your thing and then spits out a clip to you and says, "You want to post this?" And it's like, "Sure, I'll post that one." I did that live. My silly trivia hat. Anyway, I was feeling goofy that day. Let's get going with today's real story. Mom's here, Roseanne. Mom, I know sometimes you don't stay for the whole episode, but this one features you, so maybe you want to ears up a little here. Her name was Penny. Yes, thank you, Jess. Penny, great answer. You jumped in there. There are definitely were others that jumped in with Penny. I think I'll do that more often. I actually have been working on a different style of live, putting a little more structure to some of those impromptu lives that I do, trying to get even more conversation. But that's not why we're here this morning. Welcome to Kindness Rising, your morning dose of hope, humanity, and heart. Every weekday morning, 7:30 a.m. Eastern, I come here to open up the Mornings in the Lab network with our crew, and we are building one. Welcome, 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 everyone. Let's get started with our topic today. Have you ever noticed how often we wait to feel ready? We wait to feel confident before we speak or qualified before we apply. We wait to feel like a leader before we actually lead. And while we're waiting for that feeling to arrive, the opportunity quietly packs up, turns off the light, and goes home. What if we have it backwards, though? What if confidence doesn't always come before action? What if sometimes you have to move first? Absolutely. Today we begin the final week. Finally. Oh, you really fly the coop, Mom? Okay, I thought you listen for a little while and then went about your biz. All right. Today we're beginning the final week of Without a Net, and we begin with 3 words from my mom. 3 words. She always said this to me as a kid, when I was struggling, even as an adult, when I'm struggling. She would say these 3 words: act as if. Well, we're going to talk about act as if a little bit more throughout today. And for the past 4 weeks, we've been talking about what it takes to create environments where people can show up fully, about being authentic and trust and feedback and fearless connection, and what to do when we fail. The courage to admit that there's paint all the way down the staircase and it didn't paint itself. But now we reach the final week. This week is about inspiration, possibility, and becoming. The theme is believe bigger, not believe recklessly, and not ignore reality, not paste an inspirational quote over a serious problem and hope that the problem goes away. Believe bigger means refusing to treat your current circumstances as the final word about who you are. Yep, and what is possible. It means understanding that none of us is finished. We're all in various stages of becoming, and that's why we're acting as if. And our musical thread for this final week comes from one of the Grateful Dead's most mysterious and beloved works, Terrapin Station. Robert Hunter wrote the lyric to start: inspiration, move me brightly. Not prove yourself to me, not provide a detailed strategic plan, not submit 3 references in a resume, move me. There's openness in that line, a willingness to be changed and a willingness to begin before you know exactly where your road is going. And that's where we're headed today. Welcome in to Kindness Rising. Yes, visualizations and affirmations. We're going to be talking a lot about that today, Sully, actually. I love that. And we'll talk about that with our who's who, or who in the world, not who's who. Who in the world? Who in the world am I talking about today? I'll give you 3 clues throughout today's episode, and you will guess. I realized I've forgotten to add my music. But here it is. Here's the first clue. Our person's family experienced serious financial struggles, and at one point they actually lived in a van as a family. That is the start of our who in the world are we talking about? All right. Let's do our spotlight. A spotlight always comes after our first clue, and we'll finally get some tunes added to our day. Welcome into Kindness Rising. Every single day, we highlighted good organizations doing good work for good people, by good people, and today is no different. Today's spotlight belongs to an organization that understands something important. Sometimes people need someone else to see their potential before they can fully see it in themselves. And I didn't get the link, but it's a local one. It's Binghamton University right here. They have something called their Liberty Partnerships program that works with students throughout our region who may be at risk of leaving high school before graduation. But it doesn't begin with the assumption that these young people need to be fixed. It starts with this. They have the potential that deserves to be developed. Through mentoring, academic support, leadership opportunities, workforce development, and college prep, Liberty Partnerships helps students begin building a future that may still feel distant or even impossible to them. And that connects directly to today's lesson. Because act as if is not simply something we should tell people to do. Sometimes we have to create the conditions that make it possible. Absolutely. And that's what Binghamton University Liberty Partnerships program does. It gives kids possibility, evidence that they can learn, evidence that they can lead, evidence that they can recover from difficult situations, and proof that they are still becoming. Sometimes the first steps toward a different future is having someone stand behind you and say the door is open. Let's walk through it together. Liberty Partnerships program is proof that we are never too old to begin becoming. There it is. That's today's spotlight. Spotlight. Trying to keep it local. Right here, Binghamton University, an amazing academic institution in our community. Every year, consistently voted one of the top public colleges in the country, top values for education in the country, all those types of awards. Really fine institution, Binghamton University, where my kid is headed in just a couple of weeks to continue her academic career. All right. Let's toss some more tunes in here to keep things upbeat and happening. Oh. All right, there's a phrase. We're going to talk a little bit. We're going to get a little deeper into what I'm talking about here. I know my kindness crew knows this one very well. We talk about it. We definitely talk about it a lot here and over at Mornings in the Lab with Keith, John, and Friends, a phrase that gets used a great deal in conversations about confidence and belonging. Imposter syndrome. It describes the experience of being capable, accomplished, or qualified while privately believing that you're somehow fooling everyone. You're in the room, but part of you remains convinced that someone is going to examine your credentials and escort you off the premises. What makes this so difficult is that reassurance often doesn't solve it. Someone might say you belong here, but then you say, well, that's exactly someone would say if I successfully fooled them. The internal story is remarkably skilled at protecting the self. And there's a woman named Carol Dweck whose work on mindset gives us another way to understand this problem. A fixed mindset that treats the present as a verdict. This is who I am. This is what I can do. This is where I belong. But a growth mindset that treats the present as a stage of development. This is where I am now. This is what I'm learning. This is who I'm becoming. That one word changes almost everything. Becoming. You're not pretending that your current abilities are greater than they are. You're refusing to believe that your current abilities are all they will ever be. And that is where action becomes important. You have to take the step. So your brain survives that step and then updates the story, and then you take another. Sometimes we imagine courage as some dramatic feeling. The music swells, the camera circles us, we get all focused with purpose. But sometimes courage is less dramatic. It sounds like I'm nervous, but I'm going to send that email. I'm a little unsure, but I'm going to raise my hand. I don't feel ready, but I'm going to begin today. That's not fake courage. That's behavioral courage, and sometimes the belief follows. All right. There we are. Good morning. Welcome to Kindness Rising. I'm so glad that every single one of you, power extra, coming over from one of my other live situations. I love that you subscribed and get involved. Meet Sully, meet Roseanne, meet Jess. There's a whole crew here coming in every day, different people, but Sully, Jess, and Roseanne are certainly consistent, and I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thanks for the sub, thanks for the likes and all that. It's not why I'm here. I'm here. This is what gets me excited. When people come and they stick around and they get involved. Not more subs from randoms and fakes and whatever. I'm talking about real connection. That's what I'm doing on Kindness Rising. Doing my best every day. And here's your next clue, because we got to keep things rolling. Your next clue, but let's first review the first clue. Let's get it going here. We're talking about a person whose family experienced serious financial struggles and at one point lived in a van. Secondly, here's something personal. A comedy legend who wrote himself a check for $10 million, dated it for the future, and made the note for acting services rendered in the memo line. Lived in a van for a while, but believed in himself enough to write himself a check for $10 million. Yeah, exactly. Oh boy, Jess, preemptive, double, nice. All right, we'll talk more about Jim Carrey. You got it right. I'm living in a van down by the river. I love that. Oh my God, the best part of that whole skit, Sully, which of course is the best, was Spade not being able to keep himself contained, kept breaking his laughter. Chris Farley, an absolute legend, but that wasn't him. It's Jim Carrey. I'm still going to give you clue 3, and I'm still going to go with the flow. But Jess, yep, you knew about the $10 million story. That's pretty much out there a lot. I know that. I had a feeling that one might give it away. I love it. Yeah. All right. Let's get to the core story, though. This is the core story for today. Whoops, that's not supposed to happen. This is our without a net story, and where this whole subject belongs in the personal story that it connects to. Talked about the fact that my mother taught me about what act as if means, but here's where perhaps it finally clicked for me. Most of us know what it feels like to wonder whether we truly fit in. Maybe you've walked into a room and immediately started comparing yourself to everyone else. Maybe you received an opportunity and quietly wondered whether someone had made a mistake. Or maybe you looked around at people who seemed confident, capable, and completely at home and assumed you were the only one trying to figure it out as you went. That deeply human fear that everyone else belongs somewhere we do not. I absolutely know that feeling. I've carried it into classrooms, workplaces, leadership roles, and rooms where on paper I had every right to be. And still part of me wondered whether I was really supposed to be there. That feeling didn't begin in my career, though. It started much earlier. There were times when I felt left out and times when I felt happy. And times when I was absolutely certain that life would never improve and I would spend eternity trapped in the awkward stage that I was currently experiencing. But my mother, Roseanne, you're out there, my mother would say, act as if. I didn't really understand that at all. In fact, to me, it sounded a little disingenuous. How can I act happy if I'm sad? How can I act confident if I'm scared? And how can I act like I belong when I'm fairly certain everyone else has a membership card and mine was lost in the mail? Was she telling me to fake it, to pretend, to become some polished version of myself for public consumption? Trust me, I already knew how to perform. Most of us learn that very early. We learn what parts of ourselves earn approval, which parts attract criticism, and which parts should be turned up, which parts should be lowered until they're barely audible. So to me, as a kid, act as if sounded like one more instruction to hide. But that's not what she meant, and it took me decades to understand it. Got an itch on my nose, too. My mother wasn't telling me to pretend I was someone else. She was inviting me to behave in alignment with the person I was becoming. Where you are right now is not a permanent identity. It's a phase of becoming what you will be. And sometimes the person you're becoming has to make a decision before the person you are today feels ready. And that brings us to the story. 3 years ago this week, August 5th, 2023. My kids, I talked about this. I have twins, and their 21st birthday is coming up on Wednesday. And this happened to be their 18th birthday. And neither one of them was with us. They were off doing their separate things, and that carried emotions for Heather and I. But we were like, we could sit around and mope and not be celebrating with our kids, or we can go do something. So we hopped in the car and we found a venue and an artist that happened to be playing at the time we liked. And we drove. We drove a couple hours out to Canandaigua, New York to see one of our favorite musicians who you may or may not know. That's Keller Williams. He's a one-man band in the most literal sense. He builds his music live. He literally lives. His music is without a net. He lays down a musical layer, then another, a bass, the rhythm, percussion, melody, then his vocals, and he's creating these songs in real time. Sure, he has a plan, but it's happening right in front of the audience with no guarantee that the choice will work. That's why I love Keller, because he's definitely plays without a net. So Lincoln Hill Farms, this place that we go to see, is a beautiful place. It's got rolling land and open sky and a gorgeous handmade log-based stage where the artists play on. We walked around and we took in the venue, but and then I noticed a staircase. At the top of the staircase was the VIP viewing deck. We had general admission tickets, of course. We were not VIPs, but at least not according to our tickets. Heather, she stepped away for a moment, and I started considering those stairs. What was the worst thing that could happen? I wanted to check it out. Someone might redirect me. They might say, sir, you're down there with the general admission folks. And then I would return to general admission and continue enjoying the concert I had already paid to attend. Probably wouldn't end in international humiliation, so I made the move. I walked up the stairs and immediately got in the concessions line. It was strategic, picking the concessions line, right? It was the right move. Acting as if does not mean announcing yourself. It does not mean barging into places, and it doesn't mean pretending the rules don't apply to you. It means participating. It means entering the experience instead of observing it from a safe distance. I got in line, and the man standing next to me started a conversation. He asked me about if I knew Keller, about Keller, what was my connection to him, what I thought of the venue, and if I was enjoying myself. Just a conversation. And I told him the truth about Keller's music and the connection that I had to it, and raved about the venue, and said, basically, this is why I'm glad I leave the house sometimes. He smiled and he said, I'm glad to hear that, because I own the place. Oh, crap. I froze. Of course, here it goes. I'm getting the boot. I'm going to get escorted out of here, because apparently when I get into a line at concessions, the universe wants to send upper management, I guess. But actually, we continued talking, and I asked more about the venue and the business. He told me to meet him at the left side of the stage 10 minutes after the show if I wanted to see backstage and check out the venue further. I was like, oh, that sounds cool. That would be an awesome opportunity. I found Heather, explained what happened. And of course, she gave me the look. She's like, really? Yep. Several messages simultaneously. This happened to you. No, this is not doing this. No, we got to get home. All those things. But the show ended, and we went to the left side of the stage. And 10 minutes later, we were backstage hanging out with Keller Williams. Yep, the picture exists, but the picture is not the most important part of the story. The most important part is the staircase that I'd been standing outside because an opportunity and the story in my head had already decided that I didn't belong to that opportunity. No one had rejected me or told me to leave. No one said the door was closed. I was standing outside a door that might have been open, waiting for someone to issue an invitation that didn't know that I needed it. And that is how many of us live. We wait for permission to begin, permission to speak, permission to create or change careers, to take ourselves seriously, to become the person we suspect we could be. And sometimes the invitation isn't coming. Not because the door is closed, but because the people inside don't know you're even standing outside of it. My mother understands that and understood it when she told me this as a kid. Act as if. Not pretend because you're pretending the outcome is guaranteed, not because you're entitled to every room, and not because belief eliminates preparation, humility, or respect. Act as if because the future version of you needs the present version of you to take a step. The door was open the whole time. I had to stop standing outside it. That's my story of meeting Keller Williams. I see the chat blowing up. Keep it simple. Susie Q, what is up? Yes, so that others may simply live. Heather's actually wearing that shirt right there. Keep it simple so that others may simply live. Yes, Mom. Yep. Maybe I am more like Danda, right? That was a Danda move. All right. You guys are awesome. Thanks. Susie Q, I'm so glad you chose to join me here. Thanks for the sub. My Grateful Dead YouTube posting friend, keeping us all connected. Thank you so much. All right. Hey, if you don't know Susie Q out there, check out her stuff too. All right, let's get back to our who in the world. We already know who it is because Jess is a genius. So family experience who struggled. Woo, let's try that again. The family experienced financial struggles, and at one point they lived in a van down by the river. The comedy legend wrote himself a check for $10 million and dated it for the future for acting services rendered in the memo line. And guess what happened in 1995? He got a check for $10 million from a single film. Dumb and Dumber. We know the answer, but I'll be back to talk more about it in just a second. First, though, we always move, always move from thought to action here on Kindness Rising, and this is today's Kindness Compass. Here it is. Think about one place in your life where you have been waiting for... That thing snuck up on me. Think about one place in your life where you've been waiting for permission. Not 10 places, just one. Where are you standing outside the door? Maybe you're waiting to share an idea or to apply for something or to call someone or create. Waiting for someone else to tell you that you're ready. Now ask yourself, what is the concession line version of the next step? Not the giant leap, not the reckless move. I didn't go kicking down the door and running backstage after the show. No. I'm not screaming motivational quotes and breaking tables in a van down by the river. What is honest, respectful, and an observable step that puts us into motion? Take that step today. Act as if the future is possible. Act as if your voice matters. Act as if you are capable of learning what you do not know yet, and act as if you belong because you are in the process of becoming. Yes, you are. That's today's Kindness Compass. Thank you. I hope everyone is fired up. Lori Marie, so glad you found our channel. Thank you. You needed to hear it. That's why I come here every single weekday morning, 7:30 a.m. Eastern, and other times too. And it is the days between Susie Q. I had planned to talk about it, and maybe if I've got a minute, we'll talk a little bit about it. We'll be celebrating. We're always celebrating. A lot of people here in the morning might not know what the days between are. Do you know? I'll ask that after I do my reveal. I already revealed it, though. It's Jim Carrey, and before he became the world's most recognizable comedic actors, Jim Carrey carried a vision of a very different future. He wrote that check for $10 million for acting services rendered and dated it several years in the future. But the check didn't create his career. It just represented the belief that the career was possible. Then he kept working towards it, performing, auditioning, developing his craft, taking risks, failing publicly time and time again. Eventually, the external reality, though, began to catch up with the internal vision. And that's the part sometimes we leave out of our stories. People remember the check, they forget the work. Act as if is not about wishing more intensely, it's about living more intently. Jim Carrey acted from the belief that he could become a successful performer before the world had provided much evidence, and then he kept doing the work required to become one. That was Jim Carrey. Story. Jess is welcoming Lori. I appreciate you. The hero, the heroine, PWR's jumping in with all kinds of hearts. We're having a ton of fun today with the entire crew. Yep, that was today's lesson a little bit. I think about the distinction between acting as if being magical thinking, right, versus just believing enough. Just believing enough. Actually, my friend John Anderson says I'm just stupid enough to believe. But the truth is, believing in the possibility, just like you said, Sully, in the chat there, visioning, seeing it for yourself, then you can move towards it one step at a time. Magical thinking, though, that says, oh, I imagine the outcome, so now the world owes it to me, right? Oh, it just owes it to me. No. Real acting as if is believing the possibility is real enough to influence how I behave today. That's it. Yep. There was a musician inside of Keller Williams before he began looping his first note, right? That kind of music takes tremendous visualization and thought. So there's one soundbite I want you to carry with you today. Belief does not always come before action. Sometimes action gives belief the evidence it needs. Let me say that again. Belief does not always come before action. Sometimes action gives belief the evidence it needs. That's the soundbite for today. As we hang out for a few more minutes in the days between. Thank you so much, Susie Q, for reminding me to talk about that. Yes, those of us who are in the world of the Grateful Dead and make it part of us know this time between August 1st and August 9th as the days between. The days between are the days between the date of Jerry Garcia's birth, August 1st, and his death date. And we celebrate that. It's like Hanukkah for deadheads. Is that a fair way to say it? Hanukkah for deadheads. Happy days between for everybody. This year, I think it brings a new special thing, even though it's about Jerry. Obviously, we experienced losses in the deadhead community. Huge Bobby, losing Bobby this year. So I'm sure it's carrying weight for everybody, but also great memories. And hopefully some inspiration, because that's what we do here on Kindness Rising too. Every weekday morning, 7:30 a.m. Eastern. Subscribe to the channel. Get involved in the mornings in the lab. We've got a great week of programming coming up again right after this at 8 p.m. You got Mornings in the Lab with Keith, John, and friends. Get on over there. Tomorrow they'll have Brianna Bass, and we'll get into the stuff with Cheryl Raphael Whitaker on Wednesday. It starts with Joy and the Jason Hewlett Show. We've got it all going on. Absolutely. Check out Mornings in the Lab Network and keep coming back. Keep coming back, especially right here to Kindness Rising. All right, let's weave the thread. We're winding down here. It's coming up to the 8 o'clock hour. And we are weaving our thread. Robert Hunter wrote 4 words to start a song. Inspiration, move me brightly. There's no demand in that line. There's no guarantee. There's just an invitation. Move me, change me, call me forward, make me more available to the possibility that life is larger than it currently appears. That's how I want us to begin this final week of Without a Net. Not pretending that everything will work, not denying the obstacles, and not confusing optimism with evidence, but refusing to let the present become a verdict. You're not finished. You're not fixed. You're becoming. And the person you're becoming may need you to move before you feel completely ready. 5 weeks ago, we stepped out onto that wire together. We began talking about what it means to show up without pretending we can control every outcome. Today, we discover that one of the hardest parts of walking the wire is not maintaining our balance. It's believing we belong on the wire in the first place. So act as if the door is open. Act as if your contribution matters, and act as if there's more of you still waiting to emerge. Then take the next honest step. Get in line. Inspiration, move us brightly. Until tomorrow, stay uncommon, stay kind.